allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Okay. Terry, would you take roll call?
Palmer.
I'm here.
Patty Back.
Present.
Shelley Kidd.
Present.
Jim Christopher.
Here.
And Dale
He's
Cason.
excused. Okay, everybody should have a copy of today's agenda. So we'll need an approval for today's agenda, but I want to add an item F that just came into the office, and that's a Dan Williams Land Bank request. We'll talk about that when we get to the end of the new business issues. If there are no other questions or comments on the agenda, somebody needs to make a motion to approve it as accepted.
I'll move to approve the agenda with the addition of F, Dan Williams, Land Bank.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? Any from the audience? All in favor say aye. All opposed? Okay, agenda's approved. And I also should have a copy of the February 11th Township Township and Fire Board meeting and the special meeting of February 20th, which was the budget session. Are there any questions or comments on those minutes?
Where's that? Excuse me.
I don't have that paper.
Is it over there?
The minutes normally.
No, the
they're
minutes usually,
later published on the website. I
Yes.
can get your copy if you want.
yeah, we don't publish the draft, we just do the final,
Okay.
once they're approved.
So is there any questions or comments on the minutes from February 11th for Township and Fire Board, the special meeting of February 20th? If not, the motion would be in order. Mrs. Tate, if any of this you don't have, you want, I'll make your copy.
I don't
Yes.
know what you're approving.
It's just the minutes of the
from
last
last
meeting.
month.
Okay. Okay.
I'll motion to approve the minutes for the February 11th meeting for the township and the February 11th meeting for the township board and fire board, I'm sorry, and for the February 20th budget work meeting special board minutes as submitted.
There's a second.
Second, okay. Any questions or comments from the board? Any from the audience? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. That's all. And if anybody wants copies of it and you don't have it, we'll be happy to make the copies, or they'll end up on the website.
Yes, they're usually posted on the website once.
Okay. First item on the agenda under financials is the budget amendments. Are there any budget amendments, Patty?
There are some budget amendments, however, Ken Polkart, auditor, is going to be coming in on Wednesday, so rather than go ahead and do them and everything, I'd like to wait. We're going to go to the general ledger, and we'll do them at that time when Ken comes
Okay. Nothing to share on
in.
that, right?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so there'll be none for now. We'll do them on the next meeting. Accounts payable, I see we got a $89,357 for the township and $8,060.74 for the fire board. For the fire department, is there anything you want to comment on that?
I believe on the general for the, that 89,357, I believe, and it included the balance payoff for Trip Road.
Oh, that's right.
And
We did
that
get
was
one bill.
$85,872.59. So that's where the majority of that money came from. Or
For those of you
made
who
up
don't
that
know,
89.
when they do a project like Trip Road, we actually get the billing in several different segments. They get part of it for the engineering phase up in the beginning, then after they do it and they find out what the job, I know it sounds hard to believe, they find out what the job actually costs, then they bill you the bulk of it, and then at the end of it, when they wrap up the final billing on it, they give you the last piece of it. So a project like Trip Road actually gets usually spread over about 2 years because it gets billed in several sections. Later this year, we're probably going to get the engineering charge for doing the preliminary engineering on Barron Road, which is going to be done in 2021. There's a couple of other projects, if you weren't here, that we're going to get done. They're going to do. We just found out they are going to do repaving of Grange Hall Road from Van Road to Jocelyn, just short of the station there. And they're going to do Dixie Highway from Oak Hill, where it starts all the way to the county. Those are going to be done as well this year.
This year?
Be a busy summer. And they swear to me it won't be done during the Renaissance. So hopefully everybody will be able to get up and down Dixie. Okay, those are the bills. Are there any questions or comments on those? If not, we just need to approve the bills.
I'll motion to accept the bills in the amount of $89,357.66 for the township and $8,060.74 for the fire.
Is there a second?
I have to second that.
Any questions or comments from the board, from the audience? Carrie, would you take a roll call on it?
Patty Back,
Yes.
Shelley Kidd,
Yes.
Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Bob DePalma.
Yes. Okay, next is the financial reports for general fire and building. I think, Shelley, did you want to?
All the accounts,
Yeah.
all the accounts are balanced and everything is a 5-star rating except for one is a 4.
And then investment report, you're going to do that next time, you said, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. That moves to public hearing. The first item to discuss on the public hearing is the Appropriations Act for 2019-2020. This is our, and there are copies there. Right?
Yep,
Copies
that's
there.
what, we have copies of the Appropriation Act and the budget for the upcoming 2019-20 year. And I have split the budget out for general, fire, building, and infrastructure.
Yeah, I'll try and kind of summarize this for everybody so you get a flavor of what we're talking about. And you're welcome to read through this whole thing if you can't go to sleep tonight. But in a nutshell, there's some particular programs that we have planned for this year. Let me get to those. Yeah, there it is. First of all, the board approved raises for everybody. It's 2% this year. I know some of the communities have done 2.7 or 3, but we've done them at 2% this year. Let's see what else is different here. We're waiting to turn in on the SAFER grant. Chief Mason is working on that. I know there's a rather voluminous amount of paperwork that he has to get ready for that. And we're going to try and see if we can have that for the end of this week and then, or end of this month, I'm sorry. We also have some other issues that we're looking at. We're setting aside potentially about $20,000 that we may use for design help on the possibility of what we're looking at for the township development on the township property. I don't know what we're going to use it, but in case we need it, we're kind of setting that amount aside. We paid off the balance of Tripp Road, as you heard, that just came in. We intend to chloride the roads again, and we have to decide today whether it's 4 or 5 applications. We're earmarking about $40,000 to play the preliminary engineering on the Barron Road project. It's being moved up from 2022 to 2021. And then we're also setting some money aside for some township safety issues. We had some training here from the state police a couple of months ago about the, what's the phrase they used, an unexpected shooter or whatever. Active shooter. And if you look at most new township offices that are built today, they usually build them with an exterior door on every perimeter office, so that if something happens with a crackpot, everybody has a way to get out. There's no easy way to do that in our building. They're all captive audiences. So one of the things we did was have a meeting, and Jim Christopher is helping us on this. We're trying to see if we can do a couple of things to provide some protection for the staff that's out in the office in the event that there is a shooter that comes in. And I know you might think that never happens, but we have had a few people here that we thought were going to go postal, and a couple of them did, but not necessarily here. There have been a shot fired through that window into this room. There have been other threats that have been made, and there have been a couple of people that really looked like they were off the deep end. In one case, he just went home and killed himself. So it's enough of a concern that there's literally no protection, especially for the ladies in the office. So we're looking at some guess for lack of a better phrase, armor plating, would you call it, on the back sides of some of the.
Bullet resistant.
areas, bullet resistant activities that we're taking a look at, so that's one of the things we have put off from last year. We're also looking at taking some of the PEG money that's come in, which is the money from the cable franchise company, to buy a new camera to replace one of the old cameras that's been acting up downstairs. And we'll talk about that later today. Some of the issues facing us are still looking at Camp Tamarack and going through the fire department budget for this year because, as you know, we stopped doing the Village of Holly, and the last ones we did, I think, were middle of July, roughly. So we're in the process now, Chief Mason's assembling the data on how many runs we had, taking a look at all of that so we can figure out what our cost structure is going forward from August of 2018 through the end of February, and that'll give us 7 months. We'll be in pretty good shape then, I think, and if we have to, 1 or 2 more quarters should get us pretty much all the data we need to get a good handle on it. In addition to that, we're going to see if we can end up putting in a better healthcare program for the firefighters, and to that end, Chief Mason and I met with the chief in Addison Township. It was a very good meeting, had very positive and constructive ideas. We're looking into that, and then I think a couple of the firefighters gave you some stuff they wanted you to look
Ted
into.
Nicholson gave me some stuff that he's researched too.
So as soon as we get done with this budget and going through the fire department and see where the money actually lies, we'll be able to take a look at that. Some of that was pretty encouraging, I thought, the meetings we had. We're still trying to get some solid figures on the value of Fire Station 1 so that we can eventually try and move that across the street by the Mavis building. And just so you know, Jim, I did get a number of 2 well-regarded commercial realtors, and I put a call into one of them today. And so when I get that, I'll get back to you, and Chief and I will meet with the guy, and if you want, you're welcome to join us. I just don't have a date for you yet. I just called it today. Let's see. The rest of this, you're welcome to read through it, but it's pretty straightforward. If you look, the township's finances are in pretty good shape. We have always, for some time now, decided and agreed that we keep a full year's revenue in the general fund balance because we're a smaller township. Some communities, their budget's 40 million bucks, and so they might keep $1 million or 2 extra, but you can't fix anything for 10 or 15% of our budget. So we decided to err on the side of safety, and we keep a full year's budget extra in the township budget. We are going to be adjusting whatever we have in the fire budget when our audit gets done this summer, but it is up from what it was. And Chief Mason's made a number of changes that look pretty encouraging. We just haven't had a chance to put all of it together yet and compare the rest of the data. But there's about $2.5 million in the infrastructure budget that would potentially be used if we need it for some road projects, because typically those cost us $200,000 to $400,000 a piece, and that is more money than the township collects from every piece of property in the township for a whole year. So those projects have to be put away for quite a while, and some of that is because when we go to develop the township's property on Grange Hall Road, where the old pit is at I-75 and the Grange Hall ramp, there's a distinct possibility that in order to get what we want on the property for future revenues, we may have to put some dollars into prepping the property because there's no sewer or water lines out here. One of the things we're going to look at is Holly is in the process of investigating bringing the sewer from Grand Blanc down to Shannon Industries. And so before we make any kind of decision, we want to find out what kind of cost impact that would have. If Holly pays to get it all the way down to Shannon Industries, it might be feasible to run it in for the township property, which would mean that property would be worth a lot more money, and we'd have a much better chance at getting a high-quality development, which would generate some good tax dollars long term. That's pretty much the gist of what's in here. You're welcome to look at it, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask Patty or me later if you want to study this. So with that, I guess I'm going to. We actually have to open the appropriations budget, don't we? The public hearing for it. So I'll open it at 7:16, and kind of giving you the overview of it. So are there any questions or comments on the budget for 2019 through 20. Our fiscal year runs from April 1st of this year through March 31st of next year. No questions? Are there any questions from the board? I hope not, because we did the budget together.
Mike has.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry,
Okay.
no, it's okay. I just really, a question is, I meant related to budget. You mentioned about for the chloride applications, you mentioned 4 or 5, which a decision has to be made.
We're
with.
going to come up later in today's agenda.
So as far as the budget is concerned, are you protecting for 5?
Typically, that's what we've done.
Okay.
Yeah, we usually do 5. You have a choice with the county of 4 or 5. In the budget, we've estimated 5.
Right.
And that comes up later in the agenda, and we'll discuss that as a separate item.
Who makes the decision, or how is the decision made for the application process itself?
Oakland County Road Commission, the Road Commission for Oakland County, actually is what it's called, right? I don't want to get it wrong, right, Mike? The Road Commission for Oakland County is the one that does the applications. It is possible to have an independent contractor do it, and for a couple of years we tried it because the Road Commission's rates got kind of stiff. And the problem with using an independent contractor is somebody has to coordinate the spraying of chloride with the grading process.
Yeah.
And when the road commission does it, it's very easy for them to send the grader truck literally right after the spraying truck right after the grading truck.
Okay.
When you use an independent contractor, sometimes that gets kind of broken up and you end up spraying it at an inopportune time. And the road commission brought their costs back down a few years ago, so we went back to doing it with them. They do the applications, and the way they do it is one garage in Davisburg, down on Dixie, does 4 townships. It does Groveland Township, Holly Township, Rose Township, and Springfield Township. They're all out of that garage.
Okay.
And so one year, when they start the grading and the chloriding, I don't know which one we are this year, I can't remember, but let's say year 1, it might be Groveland that gets graded and sprayed for chloride first. And the next one would be Holly, and then the one after that, Rose, and then Springfield.
Okay.
Then the next year, they rotate the whole thing one more, and Holly would be the first one. The year after that, they rotated again the Rose, and the year after that, they rotated to Springfield. So they pick the chloride spraying days. They try to coordinate them with the grading, and they try to spread them out throughout the year, basically from the spring after the rains to roughly around October time frame, if you do 5 of them. They do get moved based on weather. They will tell you that if they spray on a day where it doesn't rain hard, it tends to help the chloride actually soak in and work better. If they do it on a day when it's going to, we're expecting torrential rain, they'll typically hold off on spraying because what it does then is makes a big soupy mess and all that. The way they spray it is the truck has a computerized control device on it that runs the sprayer bar in the back, and it's set up to spray so many gallons of chloride for so many feet of distance traveled. So it really, it doesn't matter if the truck goes slow or fast, it adjusts that spray rate.
Gotcha.
But the biggest problem is trying to make sure you match it and hopefully spray it at a time when you might get a little rain or no rain, as opposed to a day when you get a monsoon, and then a lot of times it's a waste. But that's basically how it's done. The schedule for that, you might be able to get the tentative schedule off of the road commission's website.
Oh, okay.
But I'll be honest with you, my experience has been the weather ends up making that move. When we get a long, hot, dry summer, it's pretty regular. When they end up getting a lot of rain, they end up moving a lot of times, and stuff gets shifted for a week or 2 or 3. And so you're welcome to look at it. I'm just telling you, it's not like it's an ironclad, May the 15th, the sprayer truck will be out. It might be tentatively scheduled for May the 15th. It could end up being April the 3rd before it actually gets there. So that's how they do it.
Okay. Now the road grader, again, that's Oakland, that's road commission
Road
as
commission.
well.
All the issues you might have with roads, that you want to get anything fixed, you need to call the road commission for Oakland County. And the consumer number is 248, I don't know here, 858-4803, I believe. I got it on my top of my desk.
I don't know.
I think that's the number, okay? They take all the complaints, and I'll tell you exactly how it works. It is a squeaky wheel system, okay? So if you have road problems, and your neighbor says, yeah, the road looks terrible right now, it is to everybody's advantage have everybody call into that number because it's really what generates the repair calls. They handle 4 garages, so you can imagine, if they get 3 times the calls from Springfield Township on a road that we get, they're gonna send it to the one they get the most calls on first, because it's the same garage taking care of it. So it's definitely a, what I call a squeaky wheel system. If you got problems, call. If they didn't fix it, I call them again. They're actually pretty good about it though, because our roads have been in pretty great shape, I think. Kevin, you raising your hand,
Yes.
you are?
I just want to bring up the point, you're talking about the secondary roads, not the primary dirt roads.
That's a good point. The primary roads, which are Groveland, Barron Road, Wildwood Road, I think that's it, really. Those 3 roads are primary roads which are solely under the control of the road commission. They have the heaviest traffic.
Yes.
They will grade and chloride those whatever the road commission thinks is appropriate for, and we don't pay for that, and we don't have any direction over it.
Okay.
All the rest of the roads, like Perryville Road or Brant Road, any of those other
Van
roads,
Road.
are secondary roads, and those are the ones that we pay for, that get involved in that process I explained earlier about trying to do it 5 times.
Okay.
Typically, if you have a real bad problem though, and it gets a long dry spell and it's dusty, if you call, typically in a few days, they'll try and send a truck out to that area and get it. They might not do it the day you call them, but they're usually pretty good about getting out of there in a few days. And I think the last year, my experience has been, I think the roads have been in great shape. And I have to go down Groveland Road every time I want to go to the theater with my wife, so, you know, I got a pretty good feel for when that's in good shape or not.
Who names the roads primary and secondary?
Road Commission, and they're done a long time ago based on what they think are the primary travel points through the township. For example, Groveland Road, Grange Hall Road, and Oak Hill Road. Those 3 are all primary roads. They're the primary east-west roads to the township. The primary roads going north and south are really Wildwood, which is just back here, and then jogs over to become Barron, is the main road going north and south through the township. And they do it, and it's laid out by somebody based on truck routes and that kind of thing. If you look, those primary roads like Barron and Groveland are usually not nearly as hilly. They're usually much wider. The brushes cut back much farther, and they're just easier roads to travel, and that's generally where the truck traffic goes.
They also do a vehicle count on
Yeah, they do a vehicle count, although out here I can tell you that the counts that they use, we almost never meet the number on any of them. We just don't have as much traffic as some. And Mike, you've been patient, I know you wanted to
That's
ask.
Just a curiosity question on the budget and stuff. Do you have prior year's actuals, and do you see any of these line items trending upward, downward? I noticed you got a summary on the salaries and all that stuff that you highlighted at the beginning, but just looking at the prior year's actuals and stuff like that. And that's my budgeting coming out of that.
Actually, I think they're all on file in Lansing. You can actually pull up.
Can you pull them up?
Yeah. And if you can't, I'm sure we can get it for you. We have them. Most of them.
Anything
The numbers don't change a lot. Where they'll change a lot is when we put, like this year's budget has an inordinately large amount of money in road work because, you know, Tripp Road finally got fixed for us, and we're moving up Barron Road because we have the opportunity to, and generally, if you can move it up a little bit, it probably is going to be a little less expensive because the asphalt products all go up every year. And the way it works with the road commission is you can get an estimate on a road, but you're gonna pay whatever it actually costs when we get done, and we don't do it. The road commission manages the project and basically tax 20% onto it for that. But it's the only way to get government match money on a lion's share of it. So most of those numbers you'll see are fairly consistent. Where we have the biggest difference this year is we're gonna see if we can do the increased health care benefit for the full-time firefighters. So if that happens, that's an increase that's larger than certainly than normal. And the road work money that you'll see in that line item is a lot larger than normal because not only are we doing the 2 projects, but about 3 days ago I got a letter from the road commission that said there's a shortage of gravel in the area and we don't know what the price is yet, but it's gonna be a lot more.
Really?
Yeah.
A shortage of gravel?
Yeah, well, because all these gravel pits out here are running out of the mix that they make it from. And the road commission buys a specific grade of dirt for putting on the roads that's a mixture of clay, sand, and rock.
Okay.
And you pay for that. And when I started 22 years ago, it was $6,000 a mile. And last year it was $18,000 a mile. And somebody told me they thought it might double this year. So the gravel costs are going to start to skyrocket.
So you said the actuals are on the website, your what, the Groveland Township website?
Yes.
I think they're on the state site, but if not, Mike, we'll
State
get
site.
them. Yeah, if they're not, we'll get them for you. We got them.
Okay, just curious.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, and it's Tracy.
Okay.
So a couple things. So number one, it is evidence-based that speed limit does impact the condition and the integrity of the roads. So in other words, if there were speed limits and folks would drive slower, the road integrity would last longer. So in terms of the gravel.
Okay.
And number two, our concern is how can Barron Road, which only has a fraction residentially, traffic-wise, as Groveland Road, how can they get asphalted prior to the remainder of Groveland Road?
The roads, what we've tried to do, because it takes about 5 to 7 years to get a road project paved. Oakland County only funds 1 mile of gravel road to pavement for the whole county. And there's 22 townships that have to vie for that 1 mile, okay? The reason is, statistically, the traffic tends to be higher on Barron and Wildwood Road. And what we've tried to do is alternate so that people feel it's as fair as possible. We do one project on the north side, we do the next project on the south side. We do another project on the north side, and the next one, if we do one after Barron Road, will be on the south side. After that, another one would be on the north side. The reason that Groveland Road isn't paved farther down right now is because on the traffic studies that are done there, the traffic after Barron Road drops significantly from what it normally is. And there's a double 90-degree turn there that you have to go through, right? Near Kevin's house. Typically, the road commission does not want to pave double 90-degree turns like that. What they normally would do is say, well, if you want us to pave that next section of road, somebody's got to buy 2 or 3 houses. That somebody would typically be the township. And get rid of those houses so that they could kind of swish, soften the curves there. If we had to do that, we would have to buy 2 or 3 houses and we would have to pay for it, which would probably quadruple the cost for us to do it. There's just no way to get to it. So I'm just being honest with you. The traffic statistics are such that I don't believe you're going to see it. It's not based on the number of houses that are on it. It's actually based on the number of cars, and it's been a while since they've done it, but they did do traffic studies on virtually every road in the township with counters. And for us, because Barron and Wildwood are large roads, that first section of Wildwood from Dixie Highway up to McGinnis, and this section of Barron are both fit for us, for our size township, fairly high traffic roads. And at the time when we looked at which one to do, we had just done Oak Hill on the south side, so it's time to do one on the north side. And this road is the main cut-through road for the fire department when they're coming out of the station to go up to the north end that they use. So that's all.
Can I just say something just on topic?
Let me see if she has any
Well,
other question.
Now, Barron Road, is it a main travel for the school busing? Because I know Groveland Road is.
I don't know if it is for school busing. I'm not aware of
I've seen
that.
the bus go down,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's
I don't know
every
if
day,
it is.
3 buses or just the one.
I don't know.
Obviously, that depends on whether there's students on there or not.
Groveland Road has a main bus route,
Mhm.
and then there's freight transports that are going down our road.
Well, you mean the
Groveland Road,
gravel
too.
trains? The
Like
gravel trains tend
Not
to
those,
be,
not the gravel haulers, I'm talking transports.
well, because they're county primary roads, so the county primary roads are typically what the trucking companies use to go from east to west in the township.
I don't have
Or
to
north
dispute
to
with
south,
it,
really.
right, but it's saying how main it is. There's a lot of traffic down Groveland Road.
Yeah, but I can't tell you from the traffic study, it's a lot less on that part of Groveland Road than it was on the first part from the M15 to Barron. I'm not disagreeing with you that there's traffic on, I'm just saying it's not as heavy as the rest of the road. And there's probably, off the top of my head, 3, maybe 4 miles left of Groveland Road. Part of Groveland Road's not in Groveland, it's in
It
Holland.
was 2.5 miles from my house to Dixie, so about 2
Okay,
miles.
so maybe 2 miles of it's probably Groveland, and then maybe another mile up or something to you. Maybe there's.
Well, from my house
That's-
to Dixie, it's 2.5, so.
That's-
And then
yeah,
to
And then,
But that includes the piece that's Holly.
yeah,
To Vassar Road. And
Yes, the
Groveland.
Vassar Road would be short of that, so. That's the part that would be Groveland, you know, there's nobody living down.
What would
the
happen
farm.
if they just paved it up to Van Road where it turns? Don't do the turn.
Well, that's.
Tar and chip it, leave it
Yeah,
gravel.
well, you know what, I personally think tar and chip is good because they use it up north where my cottage is, almost all the roads are up there. They don't do much tar and chipping down here, they don't like it. They say the weather is too rough on it, it busts up and the graders get tore up on it, so they don't like
When you
using
do it
it.
up north, you know,
But
it's rougher.
I agree with you, I'm just telling you the road commission doesn't.
Canada, we do it,
Yeah.
so.
No, I understand, and I agree, it works great up north, but they're up on sandy cursed soil, frost tends to go out once. Here, when the frost comes out, a lot of times it goes out 3 or 4 times. And the road commission doesn't like to do it, it's rough on the graders and tears the blades up, and they just generally don't do.
Leave it gravel, that fraction, you know,
You're right.
Well,
as it
they do
is,
gravel.
you know, the larger
They-
fraction is.
They gravel it, though. When they need gravel on it, they put it on there, we don't pay for it, that's a primary.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I wanna talk later on about Oak Hill Road, which they just paved. It's the fastest 3/4 mile in Oakland County, I guarantee you. I've got videos, cars doing 120 all the time.
Oh, you should
So
see
what
it.
I'm saying is
Oh,
be
yeah.
careful what you wish for when you want paved or smooth roads. Everybody on that street would never want that paved again. It's out of control, literally out of control.
Kevin, you had a question?
I was gonna say, the 22 townships that vie for that money, they only do 1 mile a year. We've had more than our fair share of
Way more.
pavings.
Way
And
more.
it's partially because, one, we had the money to do it, because we keep that higher
And
balance.
I've been on the committee for
And
22 years.
The board has also been, you know, oh yeah, we'll take that one, we'll take that one. So they've been doing a good job of getting the roads paved here. We've had, I know in like the last 6 years, we've had like 3 miles done, isn't that right?
Yeah,
We had Oak Hill,
we had Groveland Road extended, we had Oak Hill done, we had Trip Road redone, they've redone Grange Hall one whole time, they're getting ready to do it a second time.
and then they did all the entrance ramps.
And then we did almost every single gravel road that approaches a paved road with a paved apron, except one, and that's because the status of what's gonna happen on that road is still up in the air. So we're not gonna put $100,000 into doing that last apron, and the whole thing might get ripped out anyway. So that's the only road left that doesn't have a paved apron from a gravel road. We'd have way more than our fair share.
I'd prefer you call it Oak Hill Drag Strip. That would make me feel
You like that.
Oh, I'll show you the videos.
No, you showed me the videos,
Well,
and
we
I've
got-
seen them, and I've sent them on to state police, and they came out.
We'll
with
talk
lots of
about it
tickets.
when it's my turn.
Tracy, could I have your last name, please?
Yeah, Neiman, N as in Nancy, E, N as in Mary, A, T, H.
Thank you.
Mrs. Tate?
The garbage trucks put so much strain on the roads.
I agree.
There's so many different companies.
I agree, it's a
Is
shame.
there a chance that we can?
We tried doing that, and people came out, you know, and you'd think we were telling them who they could marry. I'm serious.
Community disposal is wonderful.
I use Waste Management, they've been fine for me, but I'll be honest, I'm not buddies with my garbage man. I don't even see him. I take the stuff out on Thursday, and on Friday, I pick the empty can back up.
Right, but that was quite a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
So
There is a study that, but to that point, there is a study that's being spearheaded by Orion Township. And at our last supervisor, we meet once a month, the supervisors in the township. At the last 2 meetings, he said, I'm going to get together and put out an RFP on it, and he's asked for how many townships would like to be included in it. And I said, I'd like to be involved in it. We tried doing this before.
That's great.
I agree with you personally, I agree with you completely. I think it should be centralized.
Yeah.
Garbage trucks tend to be about 11,000 pounds overweight. They bust up the road, they bust up the side of the asphalt because they're heavy. You can generally save money with you can do, but I'll tell you 2 things that came out of it the last time we looked at it. You might find this hard to believe, but 6% of the people that we surveyed for the township don't want it because they don't have their garbage picked up. We have a number of people that say, when my kid comes over, I give him my garbage for the week and he takes it home. Or when I go to the office, I take it to the office and put it in the office garbage dumpster. So I was surprised. It's about 6% of the population. But I agree, I think it would be better. I'm confident it would save some money. The problem is I don't know how much it would save because I, for example, pay for my trash hauling once a year and you get a bit of a discount because they only bill you once. The general consensus is that most of the townships that are larger than us, or they have some volume to offer, can probably get their waste hauling done for somewhere around $150 a year, which would be less than we're paying here. But all I can tell you is I've told Orion, when you have that meeting, I want to set in on it. Kathy Thurman said she wanted to be in on it. We don't have enough homes here ourselves, I think, to get any kind of a significant discount. But if somebody were to pitch doing Orion, Springfield, Independence, Brandon and Groveland and Holly, we might be able to get a much better price. But I won't know till we have it again, because it's been about 4 or 5 years since we did that.
Well, and another factor is how much you save on repairs on your cars going down a road that's been damaged by a garbage truck.
You don't have to sell me, Mrs. Tate. I agree with you completely, okay?
That's a bigger factor than how much you save on your
Yeah.
garbage.
Yeah, no, I agree. It would be much better for our roads, for sure, no doubt about it. I'm just telling you what happened the last time, but we're gonna look at it again. The criteria will probably be if they're willing to do a big enough unit together, maybe we would get the benefit of tagging on with somebody that's getting, for lack of a better phrase, a smoking deal on it, you know. If we try to get it ourselves, I'm just telling you from the discussions I've had, I just don't think there's enough of us to get much, and it's hard to get a big benefit on the deal from it.
Don't you already pay money to have them over, and you go dump over at Grange Hall and the freeway? Don't we pay for that already?
Nobody's dumping it at Grange Hall on the freeway.
Oh, he's such a
Once a month, you go over there, yeah.
Oh, the dumpster service we
Dumpster
have.
service.
No, that's provided to us by Bedrock for our residents that want to get rid of stuff when they're cleaning out garages and stuff. He's not a licensed
Yeah, right.
hauler that picks up, he has no garbage trucks.
I
He
was gonna
just
say
gives
along-
us a dumpster and lets our residents
And it's not
use
for
it
garbage.
year round, and it's
Yeah,
not
I was gonna say along that
it's
line.
not for garbage, no, it's for like you clean out your barn or your garage, you want to get rid of junk.
Yeah, I see, okay, that's good, but along that line, I was thinking of, because I know a guy in Ohio lives in a small town, in a lot of townships. Maybe you could look at putting a recycling place, they have a
Yeah.
recycling truck right behind their township,
Yeah.
where people, and that way,
Yeah.
that takes half your garbage right there.
Well, I don't know
I don't
about
have
taking
it.
half of it out here, but we are looking at a recycling center going in.
All you gotta do
consumer
is, like I
power
said,
bill.
I've seen places, all they do is park a truck back there, and people fill it up, and then they get another one, same as, all the people with paper and
We
cardboard.
have a paper one right back there.
Yep, we do have.
Yeah, well, every school has those now. Yeah, but, I'm talking about bottles and everything else, and we have recycling.
Tate, you got another question? We're kind of off the track, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Roll.
Atlas Township, I don't know how they compare population-wise, but they have garbage pickup that's included in their tax.
Yeah, I think they have the company out of Canada, which I talked to when they moved in, but they weren't interested in talking to us. They don't seem to want to come into Oakland County, at least they didn't at the time. I talked to them when, they have a company that bought out the old landfill up the road in M15 in Genesee County. And it starts with an E, I can't think of the name right now, but when they moved in, I tried contacting them and they never even wanted to talk to us. So
Well, that-
they have to get licensed, I think, to actually try and do it in Oakland County, and I think they decided I think they just decided to stay in Genesee.
Thank you.
So just, I'm sorry, just a quick question, to close the loop on the monthly supervisors meeting, was that going to be an agenda item on the next one?
What it is he mentioned it to us at the end,
Oh.
and those of us that were interested in it said, well, add me to the list.
Yeah.
When he gets ready to do his agenda, his bid for it and get everybody together,
Okay.
he's gonna call all of us that said we were interested, and we'll give him the specs that we have for our communities.
So,
I mean, it's pretty easy to figure out what the waste in a community is. The average home generates roughly 1 ton of garbage a year. If you got enough homes, it's gonna be 1 ton of garbage a year. And so you need to know how many homes you have. We have about 1,900 homes in the township, and that's what would be into the mix for it if everybody were to convert to it. We have very little commercial property in the township.
So the Orion Township Supervisor is going.
Chris Barnett.
He or she
Chris Barnett.
is on point then, so.
Yes, it's his project.
It's
He's
his project.
spearhead.
So is that his task or goal for the year then? What is
Orion's
it?
pretty big. That's not their only goal. I know they were looking at doing medical runs themselves and things like that too.
Right, one of many, right? You
Yeah.
know, you got 10 projects you want to get done a year, she's just one of them,
Yeah.
right?
That's his goal is to try and get a bid out for it.
Okay. They didn't set a timeline.
Not yet, because he's asked who wants to be in on it.
Okay,
And when we get a notice, okay, we're gonna have a kickoff meeting,
Okay.
everybody will get together and talk about it.
okay.
Thank you.
I got this question, I guess as far as the township's concerned, I mean, I drive down the road and there's abandoned houses for years. Township hasn't done anything.
Well, there's a couple of them that are abandoned, that believe it or not, we looked into, and the family that owns them, nah, you can't do it that easy.
I mean, they're like.
There's a couple of them that are abandoned, and the owners are paying the
grass
taxes
is-
on it.
the grass
There's no
is
grass
this
cutting
high.
ordinance out here.
I mean, the house is already condemned.
Talking about the red one down the road?
That one, actually, there's people there with.
I was gonna say, I
The
just
white
saw people
home.
there cleaning up the
It's
other day.
McKay's, the farm, 2 doors down from us, right there on the curb.
Is that the old DNN?
There's an abandoned car
Yeah,
there, the grass is this tall.
Well,
they
do we have
got
rodents? We
farm
have a couple of
equipment.
rats, because they're coming in.
That's right, there's abandoned barns ready to fall over.
If there's
The
an
windows are
abandoned,
missing.
if there's an abandoned car there, if you fill out a complaint form, I have the ordinance officer go look at it. If it's not licensed, we have an ordinance that we can get rid of it. It takes a while because you have to go to court. You have to find out who the owner actually is on the car, and sometimes it's not easy. And then you have to get a court order to do it, but we're working on one right now that's got 50 cars in the backyard.
Well, he's.
And we have a court order. We're trying to find out where the guy is. I already
There's
suggested.
tractors, there's leftover everything all over the place.
There's a lot of stuff like tractors and stuff.
Yeah, they're talking about the hog farm.
The DNN
Couple
hog
houses.
farm? Yeah. That one, I think the family's
It's
paying the taxes on that one
really
too.
unsafe, you know, I mean, there's barns, I mean, it looks like the next windstorm's ready to flip it over.
Well, if you fill out a complaint form, I'll have the ordinance officer go look at it. I don't know if it'll rise to the level we can do it, because that one, I'm pretty sure the family is paying the taxes on.
We'll burn them down.
Yeah,
Well, that's what
we've
we-
offered to burn them down.
Let's do a fire
You know.
practice,
But you
right?
have to get, we do them for practice. We burn them down for nothing.
Right.
But
I mean,
but
that's
you
how
have to
bad
get the
this is.
person to agree to let you burn it down. And so if you don't, now you have to go to court and get a judge to decide whether or not you can actually do it. And I'm just being honest with you, it's a very long process.
I pick up all the litter, usually about 3 times a year in the spring.
Yeah, well, I've got a couple
And I
of neighbors
spoke
like
to
that,
some of
yeah.
them, yes.
It took us
Right.
about 8 years to burn that other one down the road, the abandoned farm.
Yeah, farm.
With the
It might be the same owner, isn't it? Is it the same owner?
No, but we got permission from him to burn it down, still took us a long time to get him
Yeah.
to burn it.
I think it took almost 2 years to get his permission to burn it
And
down.
it's all still there. It's all a big pile of.
We burned it into the basement.
But at least it's safe. I'm worried about, you know, the energy lines and all that, and,
And that's one of the reasons why we couldn't burn it at first, because it was too close to the line.
yeah, you know,
Once it collapsed in, we
Fire
burned
hazard.
it. It was,
But we're kind of off track here.
We still have a public hearing open.
Yeah, the public hearing. If there are any questions on the budget, which is what we
Budget,
started on.
Appropriations.
Okay. If not, I'll make a motion that we close it at, what is it?
7:44.
7:43. Okay,
I support.
so second. Any questions or comments from the board? Any more from the audience on the budget? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next item is to discuss the proposed, well, we did really both, didn't we? We did the appropriations and we did the proposed budget hearing. So we just need a a motion to close the budget hearing as well.
I'll motion to close the budget hearing.
No, second, yeah.
Any other questions or comments from the board? And from the audience? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, okay. We have nothing under presentations, nothing under new unfinished business. We'll move to new business. First item is to discuss
So we
the,
need to, motion to accept the Appropriations Act
We did
and
that.
then to,
oh, we just did
well,
that.
we just opened the hearing and closed
Ah.
it.
Okay.
I-
Oh, you want
Yeah,
a
this-
motion to accept appropriations and the
Yeah.
budget?
Separate
Okay.
appropriations.
You want, go ahead, maybe, turn on the roll.
Okay, well, I'll motion that we accept to adopt the Appropriations Act for the 2019-2020 fiscal year.
I would second that.
Any questions or comments from the board? Any from the audience? Carrie, would you take the roll call on? Do this one?
Shelley Kidd,
Yes.
Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Bob DiPalma,
Yes.
Patty Back.
Yes.
Okay, you want to do the proposed budget?
A motion to accept the 2019-2020 fiscal year budget as presented effective of April 1st, 2019.
I would second that.
Any questions or comments from the board? from the audience? Carrie, would you take a roll call on it?
Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Bob DiPalma,
Yes.
Patty Back,
Yes.
Shelley Kidd.
Yes.
Okay, now, I stand corrected.
Okay,
Past presentations, thank you. Unfinished business and new business, and move down under new business. The first item is dust control program. And as I said earlier, we have to decide, do we want to do 4 or 5 applications? I believe we have done 5 applications almost every year for the last 20 years, but it's, you know, we always get some people that complain, they think it's too much, and then others think it's not enough, so, first, does the board have any questions? So we'll ask the audience, since we have some people here. Does anybody want to comment on the dust control, what they would prefer, 4 or 5?
5.
5? 5, 5? 5, 4? Okay, 4, 5, right? The rest of you don't care, right? 5, okay. All
So
right.
another question related to that. So let's say, for instance, you protect the 5, but the season turns are over and we only end up having to have, a road commission only ends up having to do 4. Does that carry forward? into the
No,
next-
believe me, they'll put 5 down.
I just want to ask you.
I can only imagine what it would take to try and credit those all back, because the way we do these is, there are border roads in every township that are, you know, half in ours, half in Springfield, half in ours, half in Holly, half in ours, and Rose. So what they do on them is they coordinate all of them together, and so you get all of them to agree we're doing 5 applications, and then they coordinate the border roads together. To try and change that once you agree with it, I'm just telling you, I think it would be hell or high water. They will put 5 down.
And I've called road commissions, and they're on such a schedule.
Yep,
you know.
they have to.
Dependent, of course.
If you start changing it for one like that, the snowball effect through all 4 of them
Sure.
becomes
No,
unmanageable.
I just, yeah.
So, I understand what you're asking, but I'm telling you, I know from past experience, if they say 5, you're getting 5. Okay, so well, what would the board like to do? Somebody want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we go forward with 5 chloride treatments.
Is there a second to that?
I'll support.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? Any from the audience? Okay, this always makes somebody happy and somebody not. Okay, Carrie, would you take a roll call on it?
Bob DiPalma,
Yes.
Patty Back,
Yes.
Shelley Kidd,
Yes.
Jim Christopher.
Yes.
Okay, next item is discuss road gravel. You should have a copy of the letter here. I've got to get back to the road commission, and like every year, their schedule for getting the pricing for their road gravel doesn't actually come in until after we make the decision on how much gravel we want, and later when we tell them which roads. But typically, we pay for 3 miles of gravel a year, roughly. They'll give us a list after they get the order and say, here's the roads we think you need gravel on, and then the board will look at them and say, these are the ones we want that are as close as we can get to 3 miles. The caveat is, after this letter came in, another letter came in and said, yeah, we think the gravel's gonna be a whole bunch more this year, but, you know, we put something in the budget, whether or not it's gonna be enough, I don't know. If push comes to shove, we'll have to take some of the money out of the infrastructure fund and pull it into the road projects, because we moved some of them forward and the budget's pretty tight this year. But I guess I would need a motion, if the board agrees, to go ahead and let me authorize to the road commission to go ahead and bid out for what we would need, which would typically be 3 miles of gravel a year. And we usually use the better gravel because it seems to hold up better, which has got different clays, stone, sand.
Does that help with the lower rate? I
No,
saw the prices going up.
no. It's, the road commission does everything this way. We tell you what we think it is,
Yeah.
but when we actually get it, you're paying whatever it is.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, well, oh, that's still the way it is.
They have been good down the road, I have to say.
Yeah, no, I have to say, I think our roads have been in very good shape this year for most of the year.
Yeah.
They do a good job, but I'm just saying, they have, in fairness to them, I guess, they have no way of knowing what gravel product's going to be. When it goes up, and they have to still let the bid out. All they're asking us for is, tell us how many miles you think we want. And then we'll add that into our blanket bid, and when I know what it is, we'll tell you, but
Again,
we don't wanna not do it because we say, well, it was this much, and so instead of doing 3 miles, we're gonna do 1.2 miles. If we do 3 miles a year, it's been our experience that it actually keeps the roads in really nice shape. It manages to get the worst of them fixed before they're beyond fixing.
All three of them were there one time, all on Vassar and Groveland. There was the hauler, there was the grader, and the chloride gentleman, and I had some
That's
extra.
why we use them to do it, they
Yes,
stay
I had some
together.
extra Tim Hortons muffins in that from work, so I gave it to him and said, great job, guys.
That is a good thing to do.
Oh, yes, showing kindness.
Again, that's secondary roads.
Yes, secondary roads, yeah. The primaries, they decide completely what to do.
I mean, about 10 years ago, we had some really bad potholes.
Oh, we had horrible
Remember
weather
that?
for it, too.
It's way better now.
Yeah, it is. But in fairness, I mean, I do think they've done a good job, but in fairness, a lot of it is dependent on the weather. It depends how the frost comes out in the spring, and it depends how the rains happen during the year. If you get tons of heavy rain, nothing is gonna stop the road from washing out in spots. If you get fairly even spread of rain so that it's not real heavy at any one given time, and it's spaced out over the summer, it usually means the road's gonna be in pretty darn good shape. But you're right, 10 years ago it was worse. The reason that piece of road got done was that section of road was the second worst piece of gravel road in the whole township, but about 10 years ago,
Yeah.
it was almost impassable.
Right.
The reason Oak Hill got done is because that was the worst piece of road in the whole township, and it had more repair time spent on it than any other road. So that's why they got picked
Road
first.
commission has widened, it seems like, Groveland too, over the last couple years.
Some of that's the brushing stuff. The way brushing used to be done is they would send a crew out, about 10 guys, and they'd start hacking it down, and it was nice and neat. And then a few years ago, they said, can we use some, and you've probably seen it, it's a tractor with an articulated arm on it and a brush hog on it.
Yeah.
And that just goes down the road and takes anything out that's in its way. It isn't pretty, but it does about 10 times what the guys can do.
Right.
And so that's how they've been keeping the
Yeah,
brush.
you can ask me to keep doing it. yeah.
No, they do. I'm sorry, Mrs. Tate?
I didn't want to interrupt. When, on Perryville Road where it goes down by Groveland, the water runs down the edge of the road and washes out, and so then the gravel goes down, so it seems like if they would ditch that, they wouldn't lose so much gravel every year.
Engineering design.
It's Perryville.
By Risman.
By Risman. And the water runs, as it thaws, it goes down and washes the gravel down,
Takes the gravel with it.
takes the gravel with them, so it seems like it would be, behoove them to make a
Yeah,
ditch.
I don't know if they can, but I'll call Tom, the foreman, and ask him to take a look at it.
Driveway.
Yeah, where it comes into the street
Yeah.
that you're on. yeah.
Private driveway.
Okay, I don't know what, I know where you're talking about, but I'll call Tom and ask him
Yeah,
to
this
take
is
a
a
look at
great
it.
time of year to look at it, because as the thaw's coming,
Okay,
It comes out about 4 feet and runs down the road instead of staying off the shore.
yeah. The ones I have the biggest problem with are people that go, the water's running downhill. I know. And it's gonna.
It's even been down to
Okay.
the driveway.
I'm sorry.
No,
There-
that's-
So, I need a motion from the board for 3 miles, if that's what everybody agrees.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I would second that.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? Any from the audience? Shelley, would you take a roll call, because I'll call them now. Or Carrie, I'm sorry. Jesus.
Patty Back,
Yes.
Shelley Kidd,
Yes.
Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Bob DiPalma.
Yes, I apologize. Okay, that's 1. There goes 2. Okay, next item on the agenda is, this is out of PEG money, which stands for Public Education and Government, the cable channel that we run on Channel 10 on Comcast. Brent's got 2 cameras that he uses for shooting our videos downstairs. By the way, if any of you don't know, you can get all the information that's going on Facebook, YouTube, or Comcast Channel 10. There's a little card in the card holder on the front counter that's got all the different ways you can get what's going on in the township. And if you like Groveland TWP on Facebook, you will automatically get notified every time we load a new video. But there's a little card that has all those signage up, it's right there on the front counter. Anyway, one of the cameras is down. It's gotta be 20 years. And Brent did the research on it, and the camera that he has in the attachment here is the closest in function and operation to the one he already has, so it doesn't require a different set of protocols to use it. And I see he's put in a thing for a little adapter cord he needs on the back of it. The two together come to $2,687.46. The money would come out of the PEG cable money that is assigned for that anyway, rather than the township revenues or taxes. So if everybody's agreeable, I would like a motion to authorize to let Brent Axe order the camera and the cable he's indicated.
I will motion to authorize the purchase of the cameras and equipment.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Any from the audience? Carrie, would you take a roll call?
Shelley Kidd,
Yes.
Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Bob DiPalma,
Yes.
Patty Back.
Yes.
Okay, that's the third thing for tomorrow, okay. Next is to discuss the MTA conference, and Patty, I think you offered to go
Yes.
for the township this time?
Yes, it's April 1st to the 4th. I only need to go for the 2nd, 3rd, and home on the 4th. So I believe it's 2 nights, 3 at the most. And I have a room with Candy Allen from Brandon. I haven't met up with her to make sure that's still gonna float, but going that route.
There are a couple that I would like you, before you go, to kind of go over the itinerary with us, because there were a
Yes.
couple that Kevin and I looked at that dealt specifically with firefighters. And
Yep.
he can't go, and if you're gonna go instead of me, I'd
Yep.
like you to pick up if we could, whatever is at those, so we have.
I'd be happy to.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve,
Videotape's fine.
Videotape is fine.
The
You want to say you
registration
can put in your
is,
car, play while you're driving?
the registration is $349, and it would be 3 nights stay and at the most. I should have picked up a better chart or what was going on.
Well, plus you got meals and
Yeah,
mileage to
and
get there.
mileage.
It's in Grand Rapids. right?
It is in Grand Rapids.
This is the annual Townships
Yes.
Association.
They used to
convention.
have it in January, but they changed it, I think, because the weather was always so
Yeah.
bad in
And
January.
when it's in
Weather.
Detroit, it's easy for all of us to go because there's no
Yeah.
overnight stay.
Right.
When it's out of town, we don't like to send everybody. It seems kind of redundant, so we send one person.
I would propose approval of Patty going down to the conference
And for meals
and for meals and lodging and mileage.
Registration, etc.
I'll start.
Okay, seconded by Jim. Any other questions or comments from the board? Any from the audience?
Enjoy.
Carrie, would you take a roll call?
Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Bob DiPalma,
Yes.
Patty Back,
Yes.
Shelley Kidd.
Yes.
Okay, this next one, this is gonna come as a shock to everybody. We have a letter here, I'm gonna read this to you. Recently, the dependability of electricity in our neighborhood has been beneath our standards. We want you to know we're aware of the reliability issues. Our engineers are investigating next steps. Depending on the cause, we may be able to deploy crews to quickly correct the problem. However, in some cases, a longer-term solution may be needed. We will provide you an update within 4 weeks. This letter is dated February 25th. If you have any questions, contact, and I give you a phone number here. We understand the outages are frustrating and apologize for any inconvenience. We appreciate your patience as we work to identify the opportunities for improvement. So I want you all to know, DTE is sorry the service ain't been very good lately.
However,
And
I'd
we've
like
been
to
working.
share, Saturday night, I take my car through the car wash at the corner of Wolf and M15.
Oh, no.
I'm stuck in the car wash, the electric went out, and the fella at the car wash is banging down my, and moving these, you know, those floppy things. And he wants me to roll my window down, and I'm like, a little bit, water pours in, my hands wet, everything. So he says, just bear with us. Maybe it'll come back.
Yeah,
Okay. I'm not
Maybe
gonna
like
hurry.
6 or 7 times, right?
Yes, so then it did, because you know, it went on and off. So it got me a little bit further. And I could see kid at the other end going, just be patient, you know? So then it did take me, and it stopped again right when I was at like where the blow dryers came in. So the kid in front of me who does the wiping off is yelling, hey, hopefully it'll come back on. If it doesn't come back on soon, we'll figure out how to get you out of there.
Over a generator.
Yeah, I wonder. So yes, but I did get my car washed. I've never been stuck in a car wash before.
Did they give you a free one?
Yeah. Well, you know, it was stop and go, so I did go back Sunday morning. Nobody that was working there that night was in, so I had bought those free ones at Christmas. I just went through because
They say you get what you pay for when it's free, right?
Really?
Was most of the township, is it Consumers Energy or DTE?
Almost, well, that side of the township is
Holly,
consumer.
yeah.
This side of the township's DTE.
Because that new Consumers going up down the road, and it seems like we hardly ever lose a follow.
Knock on wood.
And as far as consumers.
You know what the problem is? There's actually, I'm under the impression there's really only 1 or 2 routes out of Pontiac to up M15 and Old Portonville and, for, you know, the east side of the township. So typically what happens, if you notice, your power flickers off once, then it comes back on, and that's because they shoot it again. And it flickers a second time, it goes off, and if they do it the third time, usually that means there's something bad wrong, they gotta send a guy out and it ain't coming on right away. But we can always tell when people move here from the suburbs, because they'll go, do you know my power is out? And I'll go, yes. I'd say, I have a generator, she has a generator, he has a generator.
A lot of
Almost
people-
everybody we know has a generator, because it's just the only way to make sure you have power.
They're like really in shock. I'm like, yeah, remember I moved down here once too.
Yeah, we're actually blessed with consumers energy.
The longest I've been out
Well,
is 10 days.
We
Well,
ordered
was
a
it-
pizza from Holly.
With the blackout,
Yeah.
remember that, with the whole East Coast and shit? We never lost power.
Jeremy, you want to ask something?
Well, for what it's worth, Jeremy Chestnut, 600 South Joslin, I did talk to, because every time a squirrel farts, our power goes out, especially down Joslin. And I talked to a foreman and a guy from the tree, and we're supposedly on some list that was supposed to start this winter or last fall for line maintenance. For what that's
Yeah, where they
worth.
go through the woods and they kind of clear all the branches.
I
off.
told them I've got like 10,000 trees. I can take as many as I want,
Yeah.
because I have more.
The last time they did it was probably, I think, 6 or 7 years ago, and I don't remember what the schedule interval is, but when they did, all this stuff you see cleared going down Grange Hall where the power line runs, that's when they cleared a ton of that out.
And they said that we're slated, it was, I don't know, the polar vortex down that we get. It got delayed, but I was told that last fall.
Yeah, well, you've heard it now from them.
Oh,
In 4 weeks, they're gonna tell us what they're gonna do, so we'll let you know. I just wanted to let everybody know. They're sorry.
Buy stock in Generac.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, the next item, and the last one we put under new business is to discuss the Dan,
Yes.
I'm sorry, what's his last name?
Williams.
Williams. Land bank. We have an application from a resident who came in today. He bought 40, 50 acres of land. He wants to put it in the land bank that farmers can, where they get a tax credit to help them be able to farm. We only have a couple of farmers in the township that use it. He wants to use it. Patty called up and checked. He meets the requirements for it, but the board has to approve it before they'll process it in Lansing for him. So he gets some extra credit on his property for farming it, as long as he meets those requirements, and he does.
And
He's
he
got enough
does.
land, and he's got enough of it that's tillable property.
Question, on the surface, it sounds fine. Is there any downside to this?
We really don't have any option. If they want to do it, it's kind of like if somebody has enough area to claim a tree farm and they raise trees, they get the homestead, the equivalent of the homestead exemption on a tree farm. Farmer gets the exemption of a farmer, which is the same as a homestead exemption. We really don't have an option to turn it down. It's just, the way I think it works is if he sells it before he's done using it, he has to pay that tax back, but the state of Lansing really administers all that stuff.
Okay.
So we just have to formally approve it to get it processed. So with that, do you want to make a motion to?
Yeah. The other thing is he could
We
request
won't
it
have to
for
turn it down, Joe.
10 to 9 years. He took 10 years, and when I spoke with the conservancy here, they said that we don't have to vote on it again to allow him to extend it. It's done between him and them at that point. So, Okay, I motion that we allow Daniel Williams to be part of the farmland and open space preservation program with his 40 acres located at Jasmine Road, the corner of Jasmine Road and Bald Eagle Lake. Sidwell 02-300-003, section 26. I guess it'd be 02-26-300-003. And that's my motion.
I would second that.
Any questions or comments from the board? Any from the audience? You're just entitled to do it. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, that's done. I don't think we need to do it on money basically. That's the last item under new business. We have nothing under resolutions. Before I move to miscellaneous reports, I'll ask if there's anybody that wants to make comments today.
Is this where I get to step in?
This is where you get to make you got your 3 minutes.
Got my 3 minutes. William Sash, 101930 Oak Hill. I'm just dying laughing listening to you guys talk about poor gravel roads and that. They put that 3/4 mile drag strip in front of my house there. The average speed now is about 65 miles an hour. I have cameras that pretty much read about a quarter of that street. So I can videotape and run all this all the time. So any statistic that I give you is actually accurate. So the other thing too is they put one is the speed limit, 55. Why is Tripp Road right down here 50, these 50, everything 50?
This isn't 50, this is 55.
It's 55. I get in my car and look at the odometer or the heads-up display, it'll say 50. It says 50 right on Tripp Road.
It says
But
50
anyway,
on Tripp Road because of the number of driveway cuts.
right, okay. So I can go anywhere in Oakland County and I can't find a street that dead ends in one. Basically, you have to go dead stop at the end of that mile, dead stop this way. But anyways, you run into Dixie Highway, so you have to stop, okay? The other end, you either have to make a left or you basically have to stop to go onto the dirt because it's so gravelly there. The point is, let me see, just this week alone, cars 85, a new record, over 120, and I can send you the video on it. These are going on all the time. Last time I was here was 3 years ago when they first did it. You said, oh, it's so safe. Let me see, 3 dead deer, 2 family dogs, 2 family cats. The neighbors are scared to death. I am scared to death to even get the mail. So the speed should be 45. And the point of that is, even when the residents on the other side of Springfield Township, when that road was paved, they said, yes, the speed would not exceed 45. So my point of this conversation is, yes, you have the ability to get talking with Oakland County Road Commission, or the commission, and say, hey, there is a problem. If we can bring the speed limit down, because 65 miles an hour is ridiculous. Now, the second problem is you've got grooves in the middle of that road. Over 40 cars a day hit that crap right in front of my house. So if a car passes, yeah, the rumble strips down the center. So if a car passes a car.
Sometimes if you have rumble strip noise, if you call them, they will survey that and in some cases take those back out. They've done it on M15.
Yeah, well, they've been sued before to take them out.
Well,
in
they
other
didn't have
parts.
to sue them. I mean, the guy on M15 called them and they took them out about 2 weeks later.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I don't know, maybe they just hate me because I'm an arrogant prick or whatever,
Okay, you said it.
but they shouldn't be punishing everybody else because of that. So, the decibel levels, I mean, I can bring up reports, I've read every report on everything else. Those strips have to go. The speed limit's got to get dropped, and those strips got to go. There's enough driveways on that little 1/8 of a mile to bring that speed limit down. You go down Grange Hall Road, it drops to 45 before you get to the city, it's 50 there. Like I said, I can go down Fisk Road, all these roads are 50. There is no 55-mile posted speed. I don't see a 55.
They're not posted, that's just it.
Okay, everyone's posted 50. I'm not going to get into this argument because I can take a map of Oakland County and put paved roads 55 miles an hour, and the map is going to show like 2 or 3 little roads versus the one that we have right there. I'm just saying the speed limit has to get dropped because the average speed now is about 65 miles an hour. You can't even walk out there anymore. People won't even go on the
streets. Let me ask you one question. If you think if they posted at 55, those people that you say are doing 65 would all of a sudden say,
well, okay.
Oh, I'm going to do 45?
Well, no, I think if you bring it down to 45, at least you can keep some of this out of control. That was the state troopers. That was the state troopers' bullshit answer. when he said,
It's not
well,
bullshit, it's
well, he
based
said,
on
he said, what are we gonna do? We
statistical
can't
data."
we can't stop them all. You're gonna get these idiots anyways, no matter what. But on that street, it is beyond control. The motorcycles, you name it. And the problem is, it's the noise. I'm getting close. It's the noise.
You got 5 seconds.
Yeah, you know what that noise is like? And those speed bumps. So I'm just saying, you people, you do not want your roads paved. Keep them as bumpy and crappy as you want, because I will never, what's my choice, to
No,
move?
We're done. Like I said.
Your job is to get a hold of Oakland County
No,
and force those
no,
people to do
I
something.
have told you, and I'm gonna say this once and we're done, because this has been discussed numerous times. The state police set the speed limits on paved roads. Oakland County has control over it. The township does not. I am not in charge of changing the speed limit rules for the whole state of Michigan, regardless of what you think. If the rumble strips, and this is the first I've heard of it, are bothering you, I strongly suggest that you call the road commission, because I know when we had a complaint on M15, I had a resident that said it's a problem. He called the road commission, and 2 weeks later they ground them out. If they agree with you, they'll do it. It's their decision, it's their road, the township does not
Right.
control
When they
it.
first-
And you are wrong about the posting. All these unposted roads are 55 out here.
So-
All of the gravel roads
I'm not
are
gonna-
55.
I'm not
Trip
gonna-
road is
Yeah, I
posted at
understand.
50 because it has more
I
driveway
understand.
cuts.
I
There's a
went
set of
I
rules
went to
they
Oakland
follow.
County the day that they put those rumble strips in, and it drove us nuts. I mean, it'll get you out of bed at 2 o'clock in the morning when some idiot decides fast. But the
I
point
think
is,
you should write
the point
them.
is, you know what they said? You know what they told me? I said, we can end this meeting right now. It's $6,000 to do it. He goes, well, we don't have the money to do it. And he said it's 23% safer, which was a line of crap, because I've read every statistic.
Okay.
There's not a single bit of evidence. But I need support from Groveland Township to
When
get
you
this
sent
under
me your
control.
speed trips, I gave you the.
I know, they went out there one day. They went out there for like 3
I gave
days.
you the, well, you can't, do you really think they're gonna park out there every day?
They're on Dixie Highway right in front of the,
They're not going to do that. I think your expectations are unrealistic, but you have the state post commander's email address. You can feel free to send him all of your video clips. I'm sure he'll send another cop car out there. But if you think that posting at 45 or anything
it
would actually change the speed limit, you're seriously wrong, but we.
So I gotta live on a 65-mile-an-hour road street, no matter what. Ridiculous. I'm telling you, it's out of control.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments?
I'm done.
Or anything else? Okay, then moving on, we need to do the miscellaneous reports. First one's for Howdy Youth.
There is no lot to report. The annual banquet is on April 11th at 6:30.
And they're doing good stuff.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Okay, that's it?
Yes.
Okay, Brandon and Groveland Youth, Carrie?
I did not attend the February meeting, but the annual appreciation breakfast was Thursday, March 7th.
Had a big turnout, didn't it?
Yes, that was very nice. And the recognition ceremony will be April 25th.
That's the one where they recognize youth.
Oh, I would have to go back on that. Reminded me. They did decide to launch the program of recognizing youth for when they do good, and instead of the adults, so some kids that are doing good, and just a little recognition to keep them motivated to keep on the right track.
Dale's not here, he would normally do the planning commission report. So, you want to do BZA?
Yeah, we had one petitioner, and we made our approval to move it to the planning commission. And I'm pretty sure it was Bedrock, I can't remember the actual entity name, but it was that gentleman's recycle request.
Yeah, it was Barry Bassett. I think, is that next Tuesday? Is that still next
The
Tuesday?
planning, it'll be next month, it was for a special,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
And
It's
then the
canceled.
BZA
Yeah,
was canceled.
BZA is canceled and will be next month as well.
Yes.
Okay, I have nothing new to report on the supervisor's agenda, except that Kevin and I have, Chief Mason and I have been talking to Addison about how they do their program runs and their programs and their billing and their health insurance, and we're making progress. I think in the next few weeks we'll be fairly close to having the data we need. We'll see where we go when we get to that point. We're still trying to get appraisal on the Township Fire Station. I told you I just got a hold of a realtor today. He said he would help us on that, and I've got to email the other one tomorrow. And is there anything you wanted to do in the clerks?
Nope, I think, getting through the budget for the first time and all was, we'll see how it went so far. But everything's moving along good in the office, and we've got good help there, thank you. Girls.
Pretty much the same thing with Patty, we're getting ready for settlement, and hopefully that'll be done in the next week or so.
Okay. I have nothing else on the agenda unless anyone has any questions or comments. We'll move to adjourn to the fire board meeting.
Mary, did you have a
Okay,
question?
make a motion that we adjourn to the fire board meeting for a second. Any questions or comments from the board? And from anyone in the audience? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, we're reconvened for the fire board meeting. Chief Mason, this is yours.
Okay, ours will hopefully be quick. We had 88 alarms for February. That was 86 in last year, so we're up 2. Not a big change. Total for this year is 168 for February 28th. Last year we had 208, and the year before that we had 220. So we're still tracking as we kind of thought. I do have I have not talked to the individual. I got a new request for employee, medic, firefighter, but I haven't talked to him yet, so.
We'll want to put them on the agenda.
Not today, but for next month, we'll probably, I'll interview him, see if we want to keep them. As Bob said, we met with Addison, and primarily because they're pretty much the same size as we are, and same number of stations, pretty much the same equipment, so trying to see what their numbers
bigger
are.
population, about 1,000, I think.
About 1,000, but big difference between theirs and ours is that, what they say, they get about 100,000 visitors a year, we figure we get about 1 million visitors a year. So big difference there, but other than that.
Yeah, that million's been an eye-opener, because I actually never bothered to calculate how many visitors we get. But when you add up the Renaissance Festival, the Haunted House, Mount Holly, the Groveland Oaks Park, the DNR Parkland, what's gonna come in for the ORV park, and the traffic on I-75 is right around 1 million. It was kind of surprising to me.
Here and yeah, it's for a lot of people, both those lights.
So there was an eye-opener to see how many visitors we had, but we did get some good ideas from Addison, I thought. He was very, very helpful, I thought, to us.
44 is supposedly fixed. Tom was gonna go pick it up today, but I don't know if he did, I just texted him, he hasn't answered, but.
Did you find out he's dead on the side of the road, right?
Hopefully he's in the township that can take care of him then, since he's on duty today, so.
Okay,
Well, that's all I have.
okay, thank you. So if there are no further questions on the fire department, motion would be in order to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Any from the audience? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Meeting's adjourned.